Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Nathan ELEMENTofFROST, and we are back here yet again doing another episode review of this week's episode of Fear the Walking Dead. This was Season 2, Episode 4, entitled Blood in the Streets, and I was really excited for this episode, and boy, did it deliver. Okay, so let's get right into it, everybody. As always, my reviews and everything like that do contain spoilers, and yeah, I don't know, man. It was a really good episode. Really good. It changed my mind a lot about the show. I loved the show from the get-go, like, don't get me wrong, but it was going at a slower pace, but I did understand why. You know what I mean? I totally understood why it was going at a slower pace, was because it was the beginning of the zombie apocalypse. I mean, a lot of people don't understand that, and a lot of people need to understand that, but this episode was pretty fast-paced and really good all the way around, okay? So, anyway, let's get into the recap, or the review, and you know what I thought of the episode in general. So, the episode basically starts off with what we actually seen in the sneak peek last week, okay? So we get to see Nick swimming ashore in the middle of the night with, like, the bag, you know, tied behind him with his clothes in it. Again, being a very smart survivor. You guys heard me talk about that in my prediction video. If you guys want to check that out, I'll leave the link in the description. He kills an infected and smears himself in blood from the infected's belly. So, again, we see him using the, the new ability that he basically found out about last episode, rather. And we see him using it to his advantage. You know what I mean? It's a smart tactic. Why not use it, as often as you possibly can? Sure, it's messy, but it's either that or, have the risk of getting bitten. You know what I mean? So anything at this point. And, Nick basically realizes that and, does what he needs to do, right? So back on the Abigail now, Travis basically condemns Strand for cutting Alex's raft loose. Chris and Ophelia stand watch on deck. A raft with two men and a bleeding pregnant woman approaches the Abigail. So again, we've seen this in the promo. I personally predicted that this group was, no good. They had, some sort of ulterior motive. They were most likely going to attack them. And I was 100% on that. Okay, so they get aboard. Of course, this bleeding pregnant woman, you know what I mean? Like, the survivors on deck, they want to help her. She's pregnant, innocent baby. And she was bleeding, right? From, like, the legs area, right? So all signs lead to believe that, something's wrong with the baby. They approach the Abigail, like I said. Chris wonders if he should kill him with, his gun that he has, but he hesitates. Passengers on the raft board the boat without being invited, claiming that the woman is having pregnancy complications, obviously, seeing the bleeding and everything like that from the legs. They sort of take them on board and, start helping them, right? So Daniel and Madison rush upstairs and interrogate the strangers. Strand gets his rifle only to find that Daniel has removed the magazine, from the little thing, right? The little cupboard that Strand had, secretly. Madison assists Vida, I believe, or Vita, I think her name is. Also, Daniel, obviously, he wanted to take that magazine off Strand's gun, but at the same time, if he left it there, they might actually have a chance at, defending back against what is happening right now, right? So, anyway, the pregnant woman, escorting her to a bathroom, Alicia goes upstairs and recognizes one of the men's voices as Jack. From the portable radio, that she contacted earlier in the season, I believe episode 1. And, the guy who said, "I'll see you soon, Alicia." And she asks Jack, and the other man, Reed, punches Travis in the face, and it's essentially an ambush, okay? So, yeah. Downstairs now, Vida, whatever her name is, smashes Madison's head against a mirror and then ties her hands. Jack and Reed tie up everyone and basically hold them at gunpoint. Strand flees on a raft, and Reed basically shoots at the raft, puts a hole in it, and, Strand is essentially sinking at this point in the middle of the ocean. He, fortunately enough, did not get tagged. You know what I mean? He didn't get shot or anything like that, but he is, they pointed it out. He's gonna succumb to hypothermia if they, if they don't do something. Anyway, flashback now, Strand actually meets a Thomas Abigail at a bar in a place soon after. I think it was Hurricane Katrina, if I remember correctly. Thomas actually tells Strand, rather, that he's basically in town to buy property. Strand explains that everything, he owns is underwater and everything like that, because he was obviously a victim of Katrina. So, again, we get to see sort of a backstory here, which is, again, something I predicted in this episode. We get to see, sort of, what Strand, how Strand came to be Strand, I guess. You know what I mean? We get to see sort of his past life, I guess, before the apocalypse. And he was a crook, man. You know what I mean? He was a scammer, essentially, or what do you call those? Off Lost. I'm trying to think of the word. You guys should know what I'm talking about, though. If you guys ever watched the show Lost, you know what Sawyer was. I can't recall the word right now, but I do apologize. Let me know in the comment section below if you guys can, obviously get that. But anyway, that's that. So he tells Strand that he's in town to buy property. Strand assists Thomas in his hotel room, where Thomas is basically passed out at the point because he was obviously drinking. He's completely drunk, passed out. Strand borrows Thomas' credit card, so he basically steals from him, basically taking advantage of a drunk guy. Back in the present day, Strand now floats in his raft and tries to basically dry his satellite phone by blowing on it. On the Abigail now, Reed threatens to shoot Chris if the group doesn't produce the key to the boat. This is actually a part in the promo where we get to see, Chris being held at gunpoint and, right at the head and sort of, being stood on top of, if you will. This was a point that I thought was going to be some sort of a... I guess it was life or death, right? I just thought it was going to be a little more threatening than it was. But, Travis basically and Ophelia explained that Strand had the key, but Travis offers to start the boat by hot wiring it, without the key and everything like that. So, very, very proficient is Travis, I guess, is a word you could call him. You know what I mean? He can get shit done really well. I guess that's, one of the advantages about being an engineer, I suppose, right? So... Vida, again, I'm not going to keep saying that. We're just going to go with Vida from now on, okay? She rejoins the group with Madison. Alicia tells Madison that Nick wasn't in his bid. They don't know where Nick is. Reed tells Jack that he needs to find the portable radio. Tells Jack to find the portable radio with Alicia so that they can contact their leader, Connor. So their whole group is not there yet, okay? Let's just get that out of the way right now. Alicia assures Madison that she will fix the situation. Alicia accuses Jack of baiting her. He insists that he had no choice, but he says basically, that Connor's going to listen to him and he will assess the situation when he arrives. And then she asks basically, and then I'm safe. And he says, I promise, right? So, I don't know. There's sort of a bit of a relationship, between the two of them. Jack being sort of a teenager, as well as Alicia. Obviously in the show, Alicia in real life is like fucking 20-something, I think. But anyway, we get to see some sort of a relationship develop there. And, I don't know, it was kind of weird, you know what I mean? Like, Jack's a part of the group that just attacked her boat, and she's still sort of being nice to her. It was sort of weird to see that, but I guess she really hasn't, quite developed as, like, a 100%, I'll kill you type survivor yet, you know what I mean? She's sort of still the innocent old girl, I guess, that she, lived that life in the previous, before the apocalypse and everything like that. So, I guess that's a good way to put it. You know what I mean? That's why she really isn't, too keen on just, cutting all of her ties loose and just, being straight up rude and angry and everything like that to Jack. She realizes that Jack may be, her only way out of the situation. You know what I mean? He might be the only safety that she has for her and her family, if that makes sense, okay? Okay, so Nick arrives at a gated community now, again, all covered in the infected's blood, masked by the blood that he's covered and everything like that. He walks by an infected woman without actually drawing any attention. And another flashback now, Thomas and a companion confront Strand about the credit cards in Strand's, I believe, hotel room. Could have been a house, I'm not too sure. I think it was a hotel room. Instead of calling the cops, Thomas tells Strand to meet him at the bar to discuss how Strand can rectify the situation. So, Strand did steal from him, but he doesn't want to call the cops on him. He wants to see if there's another way, they can go about doing it, right? So, Strand said he was always intended to pay him back with interest. He just needed, the money for now, right? So, We don't know. I mean, con. That's it. I don't know why that fucking word was so hard. You know what I mean? That was a con. That's the word. That's the word I was thinking about with like Sawyer and everything like that on Lost. But if you guys have never watched Lost, you guys don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So either way, we don't know if Strand is actually telling the truth there. You know, was he actually intended to pay him back, or was he just going to, you know, stay on the run or anything like that? We don't know. Right, so Strand clings to the deflated raft and accidentally drops the phone, the satellite phone, in the water, and it basically sinks to the ocean floor. In the wheelhouse now, Travis rewires the Abigail. He tells Reed that he must visit the engine room to override the computers. Daniel asks Madison to distract Vida, while he loosens his bonds, while he loosens his ties, because they're all tied up. You know, all their hands are tied behind their back. Madison asks Vida about the pregnancy. This is sort of where we get to see Madison sort of, again, develop as a survivor and think about anything at this point, you know what I mean? So she asks this girl about the pregnancy and, you know, starts talking about her baby, how she could be losing it, and, you know, stuff like that, right? In the engine room, Reed recommends that Travis have the boat running by the time Connor arrives for his own sake, and he basically says, you know, you have to prove your value. Jack radios Connor, you know, who reports that he's on his way. Jack tells Alicia that he owes Connor for saving his life, but he insists that he doesn't enjoy what he does. He invites Alicia to join their group. Alicia refuses to abandon her family. Jack promises to ensure that her family's safety, even if Connor can't accept them all into his camp. And then she hugs him. Again, we get to see her sort of, again, develop a relationship between, you know, the two of them. Whether or not it's a legit relationship, I wonder if, you know, Alicia might be playing him, so to speak. We don't know. You know what I mean? We have no idea at this point. I'm thinking personally that she's not really playing him. You know what I mean? I think she's going to sort of just keep trying to develop a relationship, and then maybe, you know, sooner or later he'll run away with her instead of, you know, keep on doing what he's doing. Because he doesn't like doing it. I mean, he did tell her that, you know, has no reason to lie to her. You know what I mean? There's not really any reason at all. Nick knocks on the front door of a home, and Louise sneaks up on him with a gun. Nick says that Strand sent him, and now Louise, which is a guy, like I said, that Strand knows, it was one of Strand's contacts. He loads luggage into his car and explains to Nick that, the housing development was an Abigail home experience. And Nick asks if Louise is the one who will be getting them all across the border. And he basically, you know, replies with, "What do you mean by all of us?" As Daniel works on his bonds, Madison asks Vida if the baby is, you know, has been moving. Has it moved? You know, when's the last time you heard it or seen it move or felt it move? I guess would be the most appropriate word that actually makes sense. She's basically baiting Vida, you know, by wondering if the dead baby, you know, would turn inside of her belly and eat her from the inside out. We get to actually see that, you know, in The Walking Dead as well, with like Lori being pregnant and stuff like that. We get to, you know, sort of hear that theory before, right, with Lori. And I thought that was really cool. It was kind of a cool tie-in there. Vida threatens to shoot Madison if she doesn't shut up. Reed and Travis now return from the engine room. Travis hides a crowbar behind a seat cushion before proceeding to the wheelhouse. Nick and Louise drive to the beach. Louise tells Nick that he only secured passage for 2 people, but Nick figures Strand must have incorporated them into his plans. Again, we don't know. You know what I mean? Strand apparently only had safe passage for 2 people, him and Louise, right? So what's actually happening with Strand and his plan for Nick's family, right? We have no idea. Are they just going to abandon him? They're just going to let him take the boat? What's going to happen? You know what I mean? Clearly, he has some sort of plan, whether or not it includes them coming across the border or whether or not it just, you know, cutting ties with them, we don't know, right? We have no idea. So, Louise explains that he met Strand years ago through Thomas Abigail. He says that his mother, who works for the Abigails and raised him and Tomas together, Tomas, whatever you guys want to call him, is staying at the Baja house. He brings Nick to the Zodiac. In a flashback now, Strand and Tom sunbathe at a Baja house. Tom urges Strand to put off his work trip to LA, but Strand says it's too important to their business, and then they hold hands. So we actually get to see a relationship develop between Strand and Tom. So, yes, it's pretty obvious at this point. I mean, it gets even more obvious, you know, later in the episode when they actually kiss, but Strand is gay, obviously, and Tom as well. You know what I mean? Can't just really have one, right? So, that's that. Travis starts the engine now as Connor arrives. I thought, again, that Strand relationship there, I thought that was kind of a cool development to, Strand's character. We get to see more of, like, his personal life, I guess, because up until now, we've seen him we've sort of seen just like a wall being put in front of him, not being able to see into, like, into his past and his character and everything like that. We just get to see, like, the hardened shell, I suppose. And now we actually get to dive a little deeper into his character. I kind of like that. So Travis starts the engine just as Connor arrives. Connor boards the Abigail with 2 armed guards and admires the boat. He invites Travis and Alicia to join his community, but he says that he has no need for the others. He grants Alicia's request to transport her family safely, to shore, and Alicia and Travis are taken away. Right. So Reed now and the bodyguards stay behind to guard the remaining captives. Nick and Louise cruise toward the Abigail and the Zodiac. Obviously coming from the mainland. Nick looks through his binoculars and sees the armed bodyguards on board. Okay, so Connor, everybody like that, left with Alicia and Travis to bring them on their boat. And now, they actually see... the armed guards that stayed behind. Nick does. And Nick looks through the binoculars, like I said, sees the armed bodyguards. Luis actually shoots the bodyguards with a rifle from the Zodiac. Very, very, precise, very, very accurate with it. And it was pretty cool. So, yeah, they definitely just got help from this Luis guy and from Nick. Okay, so anyway, they board the boat, everything like that. Madison stabs Reed with the crowbar that actually Travis hid behind the seat. On board now, Madison tells Nick and Louise what happened to Strand. Louise refuses to cross the border without Strand. Now in a flashback, Tomas, who knows, tries to dissuade Strand from going to LA, given reports of an outbreak. Strand promises to return in 2 days, and this is when we actually get to see Strand and him kiss. So this was right before he went to LA. And obviously, he said that he would be back in 2 days. It's been way longer than 2 days. So that's clearly where he's returning to, in Baja to, obviously he wants to get back to Thomas. So it is technically family. Whether or not, Strand is willing to sacrifice, Nick and Madison's family to get there, we don't know, right? After what happens next, which is Madison basically pulls up to Strand in the Zodiac and hoists him aboard, basically saves his life, because Strand was obviously pretty well dying out in the ocean, from hypothermia and everything like that. So Madison essentially just saved his life. So will Strand still, have that ability to leave them behind and to, just leave them behind and not bring them to Mexico? Because again, we only heard that they only had passage for 2 people across the border, right? So whether or not you guys think that he'll still abandon them, we don't know. You know what I mean? Madison just straight up saved his life. So it'd be a pretty shitty thing to do if he still abandoned them, even after Madison saved his life. But who knows, man? You know what I mean? He wants to get back to Thomas or whatever. So he might be willing to sacrifice. You know what I mean? We don't know. So that is where the episode ends. So all in all, Travis and Alicia are now basically captured, or I guess just, put on that other vessel, with the other group. So they are trapped. And essentially now they have Louise and Strand now back on the boat, and their whole group's together. They actually have one hostage, so we could see like a trade type thing going on. We don't know. We will get into that in our prediction video this Thursday. And that'll be for Season 2, Episode 5, entitled Captive. You know what I mean? I guess that's a pretty, suiting title for the episode. It's called Captive, Season 2, Episode 5, entitled Captive. They obviously have one of their, members captive on the Abigail. And unfortunately, the other group actually has Travis and Alicia captive. So, yeah, like I said, I can see some sort of maybe a hostage, exchange, going on between the two groups. And then maybe they just go their separate ways. Maybe the group will develop, as survivors and attack them, trying to get Travis and Alicia back. We sort of see that plan be suggested by Daniel in a sneak peek or a promo for next week's episode. But again, that will be predicted on Thursday's episode predictions. Okay, so tune in then. If you guys tune into any other videos, tune back in tomorrow to the channel. And that is pretty much it for now, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, please feel free to hit the video with a like, support the channel, share it with friends. It really does help me out a lot. And let me know in the comment section below if you guys have any thoughts or opinions on, last night's episode. I thought it was a really, really, really great episode all the way around. We get to see Strand's character develop a little bit even more than, we've already had it develop in the past. And we get to see some of the survivors, on board the Abigail, mostly Nick, turn into a pretty hardcore survivor, seeing what he's capable of. And I thought that was really, really cool. Nick's a really strong character, and I'm hoping to see a lot from him in the coming, in the coming seasons. So hopefully nothing happens to Nick anytime soon. I do not want that to happen. Anyway, that is it for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.